Hi, I'm Corey.
Hi, I'm Tess.
Welcome to A Lovely Place.
We're so glad you've joined us as we invite Jesus into the midst of our lives, learning, and laughter.
We hope this podcast can encourage your heart and make you smile today.
Hello, Corey. I am so glad you're here.
Hi, Tess. I'm glad you're here.
Well, today we are on episode 8.
What?
That's
Ocho!
so exciting.
That's a shout out to the middle school battleground youth group from 5 years ago.
Oh my goodness. So we made it to episode 8. That's exciting. And
Yeah.
we are talking about Don't Mom Alone, the book by Heather McFadden, our very good friend.
Yes, I'm sure she would say that too, right?
Right? We're just friends with everyone. It's all
We've been
good.
on some video calls with her. I don't think she's seen our face, but that's fine.
That's okay. So we are on chapters 5 and 6 today, which it means we're just about halfway through the book after this.
Mhm.
Do you want to let us know what those chapters are kind of about?
Why, I sure do. Chapter 5's isolating truth or idea is I have to figure out motherhood on my own. The connecting truth, I deepen relationships when I allow others to help me.
That's good.
Allow others to help me. I'll just let that hang there for a second.
Right? That's one
And
that
then-
doesn't sit so well with my pride sometimes.
Ouch, ouch, right? And then the next chapter is I avoid conflict if I disconnect from others. But the truth is I can disagree with you and stay united.
That's good.
That is a challenge in this world, right?
Right? Yes. So these chapters have moved into kind of the second section of the book, which is talking about us being connected with others. Like the first part was being connected with God. Now we're moving into our connection with others. So, oh my goodness, what kind of things stood out to you about these chapters this week?
Well, I like that No Mom is an Island was the name, and I feel like that makes me think of like all the different shows or songs, like No Man's an Island, or I don't know even know how to sing it, but I just like, oh, but I would like to be on an island right now.
Right? Yeah.
Warm and cozy. I just was impressed with she mentioned Shauna Niequist and her starting small and trying to get to know people with like,
Yeah.
hey, would you like to go to coffee with me? And then when you're at coffee, you can kind of see where people are at, like how deep they want to go with you. And you can be like, okay, like it makes me think of Billy Crystal, and I think it was in whatever the movie was. He was like, I had to downshift into lower conversation or whatever. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Like you can shift into wherever the person is.
Yeah.
And some of us, I think, are better at this than others. And then I'm always surprised because I'm a hairdresser by trade for more years than I want to count now. So I have a lot of practice talking to people I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is a skill I've learned, and I think God has naturally given this to me, which sometimes I forget that it's not a common thing with all people. And
Yes.
so I always find it shocking when I talk to someone and they're like a wall, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. So it's like, okay, I'm trying to go this way, and nope, don't come back. So I like that part of like being aware of how deep someone's going, and then to allow yourself to take that step and trust somebody else is powerful.
Yeah, I think that's good. So, this reminded me, so in the beginning of the chapter, Heather's talking about like her anxiety and like an anxiety attack that she kind of had. And I was just reminded like how much, especially in this like time and season that everybody's in, that like so many people are struggling with anxiety and depression. And probably like if you're not, you're the minority at this point,
Yeah.
And so it reminded me like how much everyone needs a friend and someone with them.
Yeah.
But that friendship is so hard sometimes. Like you think, or at least sometimes I think, like I'm an adult, they're an adult. Like this should be easy. we should be able to figure out this whole friendship thing, you know, and like,
Yeah.
we'll just go hang out and have fun and talk. And it's not that easy. Like, it does take intentionality and work, and it takes openness and all these other things. And so I love what Heather was saying there with like kind of testing the waters with people to see how deep they want to go with you, you know. And it made me think of, she had a podcast, the Don't Mom Alone podcast had a couple guests on. We can link that episode in the show notes, where they were talking about friendship and that they were feeling lonely and isolated, and like gave some tips to, you know, figure out how to move into a friendship. And it may be like, the one lady was like, I just go to church and I felt like God wanted me to invite some people over to my house.
Yeah.
And so I just opened up like every Friday night and would go somewhere and talk to someone I didn't know and be like, do you want to come over for dinner to my house on Friday night? And she's like hoping that they say no, because I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
And then they're like, sure, I'd love to, you know.
Yeah.
But so like, it takes some element of getting out of your comfort zone, like to enter into
Yeah.
good, healthy friendships. Like, obviously, because if we don't leave our comfort zone, we'll never find anybody, you know?
Right.
And it kind of reminded me of when you and I first were like meeting each other and becoming friends in Battleground. It definitely wasn't like an instant thing, you know, which maybe people would think now.
Right.
Like, I remember the first time you walked to my house and I was just like, what is this person doing, you know? But then looking back, like, those were such funny times. And then we were trying to figure out leading a church group together, which is not all sunshine and rainbows, let me tell you. And like those conversations that we had through that process, but like, so it wasn't comfortable every time. It wasn't comfortable.
No.
But like, we just have such a rich friendship now. So it reminds me, like, sometimes you have to just push through that like awkward, uncomfortable moments to find the people that are really the best people out there, you know? So,
well, and I have an interesting perspective now, because I was spoiled living in Battleground and in that area for over 10 years, but 10 years married. And so when I was wandering around the neighborhood finding your house, because I heard that it was new, and I'm like, there can't be that many new houses in Battleground, you know, like, and I don't live very far from you. So I like had, quote unquote, the home court advantage. And then my personality helps me in that moment, but it still is vulnerable for me. And now, flip side, I'm the new kid on the block in Spokane.
yeah.
And it's like, but I still have this thing. And then I get nervous. And like, so I was at our Connection Point church, and I was just needing friends and needing to hang out with somebody. So I kind of asked some questions about different people that were in the room that I thought could be kind of fun, you know, to my cousin. And then I went over and I was like, I felt like I was back in middle school. Like, you want to come over? And like, I don't even remember what I said in middle school, but I went up to Holly at Connection Point Church and was like, hey, Holly, do you want to go to the park? You know, like, and that's like a short sentence, but it just feels so vulnerable. And then she said yes. And then we went and met up at the park, and there was that little dance of trying to figure out where we could go with our vulnerability levels. And by the end of the date, she was like, thank you. I really needed that. So it wasn't like, it was just me being needy. She was also a friend that needed a friend, even though she was from Spokane and lives here and is established. So it's like, no matter which home court advantage or away team you feel like you're on, we still want to play the friendship game.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, how can we do that? And we've made that connection, and we get to hang out again tomorrow. So I'm excited for that, because it's been winter and nobody wants to play outside unless you have all this gear on. And it's like, how do you do play dates in the wintertime?
Yeah.
I don't know. So that made me feel like, okay, Lord, please help me. And that was at church, and we had common grounds, and it still was nerve-wracking.
Yes. Yes. It is. It's hard to put yourself out there hoping that people will accept you the way you want them to. And I think, I think that's something that when you're like in middle school and high school, you think, oh, this is good. It reminds me of the song on Frozen 2 where Olaf is like, when I'm older, like absolutely everything makes sense. And it's like, no, that's not the case, And so it's so ironic watching that now as kids. Like the kids are like, yeah. And it's like, no, that's not true. Everything will not make sense, and it will still be hard to put yourself out there and make friends.
Yeah,
you still
and you
feel
won't want to
awkward.
eat all the cookies for dinner, right? Like, you're like, oh, that's gross. Like,
Yes.
I'm gonna eat ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, oh goodness. So I guess like if I was younger wanting to hear something from my older self, I would say like get over that uncomfortableness. Like it's just going to be uncomfortable, but you need friends. Like you need people that are there with you. You need safe people.
Yeah.
And I like Heather talked about she talks about the book Boundaries and some like safe guidelines for when you have those deeper conversations with people. And I think this was such a good refresher for me because I am often a fixer. I like to move straight to fixing. I'm like, I'm a resource giver. Like that's, I think must be one of my strengths. One of my strengths is learner. And so I love to give people resources for things that I've found helpful, things that might be helpful to them. And I think that, this was a good reminder that don't fix people. Listen, let there be some silence. It's okay for there to be silence. And I think this was a good reminder for friends, but also for with my kids and my husband. I think my husband would really appreciate it if I was a better listener and not a fixer because, yeah, I moved to that one pretty quickly. So I think that this chapter was a good reminder for that too, like how to be a safe person in a conversation. So,
and I liked how she was saying about after that anxiety attack, then she was like seeking some counseling. And she was in the story, you could tell she was trying to minimize her pain, comparing to other ladies around her. And she was like, no, you need to get help and you are valuable and you can have this resource. Like, I just love that. And that I can relate to that story also. And then getting to start my counseling journey, I think it's 3 years now or something.
Yeah.
I've been a little bit more sporadic, like a little slower. I didn't jump in and go bam, 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 bam with a whole bunch of appointments, which I think gave me time to kind of process and but I feel so changed by starting that process and asking questions and seeking some help because it's like sometimes we get stuck and we can't get over it. And these last couple years have definitely been hard. And then moving and then COVID things. And my starting my new salon job, I had whatever you call an anxiety attack. And I was like freaked out what was happening. And I'm just like, Lord, how? And I've already had tools in my belt and I still was feeling that. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to breathe. And I was grounding and all these different things. But it's like nobody's absent or exempt from the big feelings. Like, like, okay, friend, if you have a friend, let's talk to a friend. And then if we need a counselor, let's talk to a counselor. And like, I need to diversify my field of people.
Right.
So it's like, all right, I need some people I can call and get that list going. And that's worthy of it and worthy of the investment to invest in counseling if you need that. And
it's like kind of, I don't know why, but this is the picture that just came to my head of like the game Red Rover, like when you link arms and someone like runs into the line of people or whatever.
Hated that game.
Yeah, I know. It's so dangerous. But it just reminds me like how important it is to link arms with other people and remember like you have this team of people with you that can absorb some of the blows coming at you, you know, like
Yeah.
you can't do it alone.
No.
We're not made to do life alone.
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
it just makes it harder, you know? So, and not that it makes it easy when you have people with you, but it brings kind of that, the buoy that you need to keep you afloat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, and I like the connecting truth in chapter 6 of the I can disagree and stay united. Like
yeah.
to be confident in where you are in your moment and give room for someone else to have a story and a different opinion is
Yeah.
huge. Like, and I think that's a sign of maturity also, to have the wherewithal to know that you don't know everything and that there's room for someone else's story and experience.
Yeah.
Like and that's a huge challenge too, like just trying to figure out what yourself is thinking. Like,
Right.
how am I processing this right now? What do I believe? And then give room to be able to listen to somebody else's story and where they're coming from is huge. And just but I think I love the face-to-face part. Like Facebook is not fun for new
yes.
friendships and trying
Dear
to
Lord.
find those boundaries. And I remember being a mom of Riker when he was like 2 and 3. I was in the moms group in Battleground, and it was like a bunch of moms I didn't know, and then trying to that little dance of like, oh, how you doing? You know, like not just trying to
Right.
be like, blah, 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 here's all my stuff. But then in doing that, though, I also found that camaraderie, like, oh, your baby doesn't sleep a long time either. Oh, good. Like, it's a norm. There was only one mom, I think, that had a baby that slept for 11 hours every night. And we were
Right.
all like, what? Your baby can do that? Like,
You're cheating.
yeah. So then it was like, and that was a easier conversation, you know, like sleeping. That's not
Right.
as triggering, I guess, as some other topics that could happen. But
Right. Well, and I think too, that's such a good reminder to like shift your perspective to
yeah,
when you're in conversations with people to look for the common ground instead of like lasering in on what you disagree with them,
yeah,
you know, because we all have disagreements. And
Right.
I think you're right. That is like the kind of the downfall of like social media right now is like
yeah,
the disagreements are what's front and center, you know, but
Yeah.
so I like that's such a good reminder to like we're human. This is humanity. Like where can we find common ground between us so that we can interact in a way, even if we don't agree on everything, we can still interact in a way that is encouraging, helpful, loving, you know, all those
Yeah.
things. So the fruits of the spirit, I need those.
Yes. Stefan was talking about those when prayer night with praying for Riker at nighttime. And I just was like, oh, yeah, we should talk about those in the daytime too. Like, I feel like these moments of truth come out at bedtime prayers and like, oh, this would be good to talk about. And then I need to remember, what is the fruit I'm supposed to be producing?
Yes.
Little check-in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love how Heather ends the 6th chapter. There's a quote here that I'd like to read. And I think it may be her quoting someone else, but I'm not sure. Either way, it says, Jesus is never tired of me always needing him. Instead, he is delighted by how desperately I need his validation, and he never ever withholds it from me or from you. And this reminded me of a conversation that you and I had at one point, and I cannot remember what we were talking about, but somehow this idea stuck in my head that you were feeling afraid or worried that, you know, sometimes if you were, that you maybe you were appearing too needy or needing to talk about things too much and that I would be annoyed. And I think that I often think the same exact thing. And it just reminded me like we all have needs. We all want people to see and value us. And we're all afraid that we're too much or not enough or whatever, you know, but we're never too much for God. And it would be my prayer that for everyone listening to this, that you have a friend that you're not too much for, because we all need someone to hear our story. And like we talked about last episode, to be in the mess with us.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my verse that I would like to read for today, which is Ecclesiastes 4:9. And it says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. And that just reminded me, we've been watching this show with Bear Grylls called Running Wild, and he takes celebrities out into crazy places, and like they have to get from one place to the next with all his survival techniques. And it just reminded me, like, looking at all those situations when they're like rappelling down this crazy cliff, like, and or like sleeping at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like how hard that would be if it was just one person there. Like, and also I personally am now like so much a fan of Bear Grylls, because every episode is almost like a counseling session, because he's like talking to the people and they're opening up, and he's like encouraging them, and they're revealing things about themselves. And, but like how we need the encouragement of other people when things are hard. Like it just gives you a different outlook and gives you the energy to keep going, which I think if either one of them were by themselves in the wild, they probably wouldn't fare as well. So we just need each other, you know?
Yeah. In the wilds of surviving life.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I need friends. Yes.
Yes.
That is a good thing, and to remember, and to remember what place we're in too, like what season, and give room for our friends and their season. Like,
yes.
Okay, they're not avoiding me, or they don't want to not talk to me. They're just, oh yeah, they had to do 2 things and then they forgot to text you back, or just that grace there, and like,
right.
But reaching out again and be like, hey, how's it going? Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm doing good. How you doing? And get to talk, and
Yeah.
such a good thing, and to share that, because if you're not together, then you can't be that cord that's not broken.
Right.
If you keep separating yourself or not pushing out into relationships, even if they are kind of scary, like,
Yes.
okay, how could I be a friend to someone and then be a friend?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. Everybody, if you're looking for us, you can find us on Facebook. Send us a message or comment or something like that. We'd love to hear from you. And we're excited to chat with you next time.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.